The fluorescent lights of Sterling Tech's executive floor flickered at 2 a.m. as Marcus Webb pushed his cleaning cart down the empty corridor, his weathered hands gripping the handle tighter than usual. He had exactly 4 hours before his daughter Emma's chemotherapy appointment, and the weight of unpaid medical bills pressed against his chest like a stone. What he didn't know was that in exactly 17 minutes, his entire world would shatter and then rebuild itself in the most unexpected way imaginable. The mahogany door to the CEO's office stood ajar, and through it he could see Victoria Sterling hunched over her desk, her perfectly coiffed blonde hair disheveled, her mascara streaked across her porcelain cheeks. For a moment, the Ice Queen of Silicon Valley looked almost human. If you believe in second chances, in the power of ordinary people doing extraordinary things, then please hit that like button. Drop a comment telling us your thoughts. Share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel because stories like these need to be heard. Marcus had been invisible for 3 years, the quiet janitor who cleaned up after billion-dollar deals and champagne celebrations he'd never be invited to. Tonight was supposed to be like any other night. He knocked softly, and Victoria's head snapped up, her green eyes blazing with fury that seemed to come from somewhere deeper than just being interrupted. She screamed at him with words that cut like glass, calling him incompetent for disturbing her, calling him worthless, telling him that people like him were replaceable, forgettable, nothing more than background noise in the lives of people who actually mattered. Her voice echoed off the walls as she told him he was fired, effective immediately, and to get his pathetic cleaning supplies and leave her building before she called security. Marcus stood there, his heart breaking not just for himself but for his 8-year-old Emma waiting at home. With his mother, Emma, who believed her daddy was a hero even though he mopped floors and scrubbed toilets for a living. As Marcus turned to leave, his eyes caught something on Victoria's computer screen that made his blood run cold. He had spent 2 years taking night classes in cybersecurity, hoping to give Emma a better future, hoping to climb out of the pit poverty had dug around them. The code on that screen was familiar, terrifyingly familiar. It was a rootkit, a sophisticated attack designed to siphon data slowly enough that it wouldn't be detected until it was too late. Someone was stealing everything from Sterling Tech servers, every patent, every design, every secret that made the company worth $18 billion. Marcus's hands trembled as he processed what he was seeing. He could walk away. This woman had just destroyed him, had just taken away his ability to pay for Emma's treatment, had just called him worthless and replaceable. He had every right to let her empire crumble. But Marcus thought of Emma, of how she always told him that being good wasn't about what people did to you, but about who you chose to be when nobody was watching. He thought of the thousands of employees at Sterling Tech who would lose their jobs if the company collapsed, families like his who depended on those paychecks to survive. So instead of walking away, Marcus turned back and told Victoria she needed to listen to him right now, that her entire company was being stolen from under her nose, that she had maybe hours before everything was gone. Victoria laughed at him, bitter and cold, telling him he was probably trying to scam her, that she'd already fired him and if he didn't leave she'd make sure he never worked anywhere in the city again. But Marcus didn't leave. He stepped forward and pointed at the screen, explaining the attack vector, the hidden processes, the offshore servers where her data was being transferred. He spoke in technical language that seemed impossible coming from a janitor's mouth, and slowly, Victoria's expression changed from anger to confusion to dawning horror. She called her security team, her IT department, everyone she could think of, and Marcus stayed. Through the night, he walked them through the breach, showing them how to isolate the attack, how to trace it back, how to save what could be saved. By morning, they had contained the damage. The hacker turned out to be her own chief technology officer, a man Victoria had trusted for 7 years, who had planned to sell everything to their biggest competitor. The FBI arrested him in his penthouse apartment while Marcus sat in the break room drinking terrible coffee and wondering if he'd still have a job to go to. If this story has touched your heart, if it's reminded you that dignity and character matter more than titles or paychecks, please take a moment to like this video, leave us a comment sharing your thoughts, and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss these powerful true stories. Victoria found Marcus in that break room as dawn broke over the city skyline. She sat across from him, and for the first time since he'd known her, she looked him in the eyes as if he was actually a person. She apologized with words that sounded rusty coming from her mouth, words that seemed like they'd been locked away for years behind walls of ambition and fear. She told him she'd been drowning in pressure, in expectations, in the loneliness of being the youngest female CEO in the industry, and somewhere along the way, she'd forgotten that every person in her building had a story, had struggles, had worth that had nothing to do with their position on the corporate ladder. Marcus listened, his tired eyes seeing something broken in this powerful woman that reminded him we're all just humans trying to survive our own battles. Drop a comment right now telling us what you would have done in Marcus's situation. Victoria didn't just give Marcus his job back. She created a new position for him as head of cybersecurity, with a salary that would cover every single one of Emma's treatments, and then some. She established a scholarship fund for employees' children and a program that paid for continuing education for anyone in the company who wanted to improve their skills. But more than that, she learned to see people again, to remember their names, to ask about their families. Marcus taught Emma that doing the right thing doesn't always bring immediate rewards, but it always brings you peace when you lay your head down at night. And sometimes, just sometimes, the universe rewards that kind of courage in ways you could never imagine. The janitor who was called worthless saved an empire not because of what he could gain, but because of who his daughter had taught him to be. That's the kind of hero the world needs more of, the kind who cleans floors at 2 a.m. and still chooses kindness when kindness costs them everything.